Hey, moved you a little closer. You can see my messy lounge in the background. I've got to rearrange those shelves, these ones. Because up here, there's some lovely candles that have melted in the heat and they don't stand straight there. But, yeah. So they're going to go in the bin. And yeah, a few things there. But anyway, ignore that. Look at this. Okay, so still in Joseph Smith history, we're going to look at verse 44 here. Moroni's message is really cool. If you want to like write it down, if you have it, if you don't have these awesome stickers, there it is there. Here's Moroni's message in a synopsis. So verse 34 is about the Book of Mormon. Verse 38 is about the priesthood and sealing power. Verse 40 is the gathering and ministering and missionary work. Verse 40 is prophet as well. And verse 41 is about the gathering of Zion and Zion. So that's what Joseph Smith's work was laid out for him to do. So he said, you've got a work to do. This is the work. And I think even at that point, I don't think Joseph Smith had any concept of the scale of what it was going to become. But he did a marvellous job, I think. Being that he had to sort of, deal with a lot of interesting people, human natures, a lot of difficulties, a lot of pushback on that. And, we face trials and tribulations too, but I still maintain nothing like that. Ours is different. Ours is very mental health struggles. So yeah, anyway, talking about mental health, which is why I picked verse 44, because I love this, and I really mean I love it. It's always been a really good example of how to deal with like an overwhelming situation, because I can imagine Moroni appearing would be an overwhelming situation. So verse 44, he says, I lay musing on the singularity of this scene and marvelling greatly at what had been told to me by this extraordinary messenger, when in the midst of my meditation I suddenly discovered that my room was again beginning to get lighted, and in an instant, as it were, the same heavenly messenger was again by my bedside. So Moroni appears to him a total of 3 times that night and 1 time the next day, and each day he tells him just a little bit more, but he tells him the same thing over and over and over, so that he doesn't forget what it is. Very important to do. That's why we have repetition when we want to rememorize something. So he had to get this message through and clearly, so it is repeated, but that's a good thing. But the point I want to point out here is that after this happened, Joseph Smith started meditating on it. He was meditating and marveling. So meditation and repetition of God's messages is what absorbs them into our being. It's also a really good mental health tool. So if you're having anxiety issues or stress, meditation, as much as I used to resist it like crazy, because I'm just like, I don't like the way people talk, and that people don't talk like that. That is weird talking. I don't like the sound of their voice. I don't like it. And I wanted for ages, because when I wanted to meditate, I just put on, like, I love listening to Elder Holland's voice. I love listening to Elder Uchtdorf. I love listening to President Nelson. I love listening to Sister Franco, actually. Her accent is just, I just love it. Anyway, and not necessarily listening to the words, just listening to them, so that I could get that feeling of calm. That's what really helped me. And then I've been asking for years and years and years, anybody, is there a gospel meditation, a gospel-based meditation? Because I don't want some, not that there's anything wrong with the other ones, just for me, I wanted something that was gospel-centered and had gospel messages and talked about God and Jesus Christ, talked about what was happening, in the world, like it was up to date and current. It wasn't just somebody trying to sell another book, or another app, I didn't want that. I wanted something current that was applicable and so anyway, much thanks to Work in One Day and Rio for pointing out Refill My Soul, and Shauna over at Refill My Soul does amazing meditations, so I'm going to totally recommend that. Yes, you do need to pay a annual fee. It is not a lot, and that covers the cost. She's not out to make money off it. It's not a business for her. She has a business. She has a job. This is like a side thing. So I appreciate it. I like the sound of her voice. It's not condescending. It's not annoying. It might not work for you. You might need to find something else. But that totally worked for me. So meditation and repetition. And I go and listen to her. She does one for each conference talk as you cover it. This is a new one every week. There's ones in there for children to help them calm. It's awesome. I cannot talk enough good about it. But anyway, let's get to this. So meditation and repetition of God's messages is what absorbs them into our being, ourselves. That's what helps us absorb them, is the meditating on them and the repetition of them. So going over Revelation, whether personal or scriptural, conference, whatever, and having answers repeated or finding a theme helps us to absorb the idea. Did you notice at conference, even though nobody else knows what anyone else is talking about, there always seems to emerge a theme. Cool, right? And it helps us absorb that. It helps us to start thinking like, we're like, oh, if all of them talked about it, then maybe we should be thinking about that too. The principle and instruction. This helps us absorb the idea, the principle, and the instruction. It helps our thoughts gather and clearness to evolve. Practice doing this today. Refill my soul meditation. Absolutely. Study from Gospel Library and commune with nature to help blow away the rubbish and leave the good stuff. That's what I've written down here. Yep. So do meditation, study from the Gospel Library, and commune with nature to help blow away the rubbish and leave the good stuff. Absolutely. The quote is from Ezra Taft Benson. And there's so many quotes on meditation. And you can tell that our prophets, all of them, have meditated in some form. You can do active meditation. You can do... my husband does active meditation. He gets a bonsai tree, does bonsai. Gets a bonsai tree and he looks at it for ages, and he might just snip off like a little bit. But that's his meditation from. That's his time, his downtime, his thinking. That's where he clears out all the garbage and focuses on the good stuff. So there's ways to do it, and do what works for you. But try a guided meditation. But anyway, Ezra Taft Benson said, man must take time to meditate, to sweep the cobwebs from his mind so that he might get a more firm grip on the truth. And ain't that the truth? You've got to take time to meditate, to sweep all that garbage away, sweep all the cobwebs away, so that you can get that better grip on the truth. So Joseph Smith meditated on what Moroni was saying. We need to meditate too. We need to stop and take time to just think and absorb and focus on themes, be present, all those kind of things. This used to really annoy me because I was reluctant to do it because I didn't know what it would bring up for me. So if you're feeling that you're reluctant to do it because you don't, you have a fear of it, maybe ask why that is. Because it's something that the prophets did, it's something Joseph Smith did, it's something that's in the scriptures, and he's not the only one. So give it a shot. Anyway, that's us for this week. So that was number 5. So stay tuned next week because we're going to do some more chapters in the Doctrine and Covenants and all good stuff. It's really, really good to look at church history and learn from looking back. All right, guys, have a good week. Mwah.